And welcome to another one of our education videos. We're going to talk about a question that I'm asked almost every week. How many times per week should I be training? So a bit of a long answer, but we'll try and make it quick for you. Firstly, you need to understand what progressive overload means. So basically training, which we sort of know this, is designed to overload our systems and our fuel stores to then promote physical change, whether that's strength or speed or power or balance or even flexibility, whatever it may be. It needs some sort of training in order to make that happen. So the big question is, how much is the right amount, and is it the same for everyone? Is it the same sort of rules, more or less? All right, so let's get into it and find out a bit more about this. So as I mentioned, progressive overload is all about training to promote a change. So we know that if we don't train enough, then you won't have enough overload to make any changes happen. So if you train once a week, well, you're going to improve than doing nothing, but you're not really going to see the results you want. On the flip side, if it's too much, then there's too much fatigue, there's too much damage, there's never anything repaired. So basically performances will suffer. So in both cases, if it's not enough, you won't get anywhere. If it's too much, you won't get anywhere. The key thing to understand here: work alone, the training enough is not the best thing to promote change. You also need time to repair and adapt to the changes. So to encourage the adaptation, recovery, if you try to find better ways to promote faster recovery, then you recover from the fatigue quicker and you can train more. I mean, you can fit more workouts in, but they're not compromised workouts. All right, so this is what I've got here: rest is training, because one of the things the gym junkie abuses is rest and recovery. Professional athletes at times as well, but they probably do understand a bit more, and they do use these principles. They try to find ways to encourage faster recovery, but the amateur and recreational people very much abuse this, even in rehabilitation, which you'll see soon. So the progressive overload curve, I suppose you could say, this is a good way to sort of see it visually. So if we train here, right, we train pretty hard, we have a pretty good all-around workout, we deplete our fuel stores, right? So we've just pretty much created a huge amount of damage to muscle fiber, tissues, ligaments, our energy source of carbohydrates, everything, whatever you want to say it was. All right, so we've just gone down. So now we need time to replenish and recover. So this is day 2. So training was here. Day 2, so day 1, we haven't come back to where we started, because remember, this is where we started. And training is really trying to get us higher. We want to get up to here somewhere, or even really up to the top. All right, so day 1's passed. Probably halfway through day 2, we're not quite back to where we started. We're almost there, but not quite. All right, so we sort of really need that second day, and even coming a little bit more, to where this ideal recovery and compensation is close to capacity, but super compensation is where we're at our best. And you see here, we're higher than when we started. So if I trained the same as I did here, it would be easier and we'd be able to do more, which is what you would see when you can lift more weight, or you run a bit faster, or cycle a bit quicker, or whatever it may be. All right, but if I came back and did it here, I'm nowhere near ready to train at that level. Even here, I'm not really ready. I need that extra day. If I had really good recovery methods, I might have been able to speed that up here, but really the harder I've trained, the longer it's going to take, and you can't speed that up any other way other than not training as hard, but then you wouldn't have really created as much exhaustion. You probably only come down to there, right? So the key is to understand this. You really need to have a few days in between it. All right, so rest and recovery, the keys to getting better is by using strategies to enhance the repair process. As we spoke about there, if you introduce the recovery method straight at the point of fatigue, you reduce the length of time to recover from the training. It means you move ahead more quickly. Body basically responds to the stress by adapting to cope with it better. So if you give it better tools, resources, methods, so examples, stretching more often, getting to bed on time, using massage, and different methods of of these things, ice baths I suppose, but some of those are a bit of a fad. But my point is, if you're using different things to help speed up your recovery, you're going to be able to train sooner and better. All right. So the thing to understand here is you don't get fitter through the exercise; you get fitter through recovering from it. Just more training doesn't mean better. All right. So understand it's a stress to the body like no other. All right. So if you constantly arguing with people every day and it's stressful, well, it's no different to training every day to the body's system. All right. So the quality versus quantity. All right. So this is a big one here. So most people are using quality, just doing more and more training, where if they had have reduced the training, had better repair from it, like we've just spoken about, they would get better results, and they would also have a better chance of doing better quality work. So the better the quality of the work is more important than the quantity, because the body will only adapt to the level of challenge that it's given. So it will not change anymore if it doesn't have a harder challenge. So it means complex exercises and complex methods create bigger change than just training more. All right, so it's very important to understand if you want to get good results. All right, so but because of that, you can't do them every day, as we've just spoken about. Right, so when you have good quality workouts, the damage from it is so intense, it takes so much longer, but the adaptation from it is so much more than if you're just doing simple exercises. All right, so integration is the key, especially with strength training. So and there's lots of scientific research that's proven this, and basically you can prove this with professional athletes who do incredible things. So they don't get better from doing bodybuilding exercises; they get better from learning advanced skills. All right, so there's three things that are determinants of strength gains: so motor skill coordination, motor unit activation, and neurological adaptations. And basically, this is basically saying you're training your brain. All right, so the activation is highest when the body performs complex movements, and more of these is not better, only better is better. All right, so a good example is the squats versus the leg press. There's no neurological requirement or coordination here, and there's huge amounts of it in this one and even more in that one. These two are going to outdo this one every time, no matter how much weight you put on there. It just doesn't really change anything near as much as what these ones are doing here. The more complex it is, the more things it changes. The more things it changes, the better the training. This is where our training is a bit like the evolution of man. These exercises are really down the bottom end of the scale of the chimpanzee. All right, so there really is no brain involvement here. This is just really dumb training. All right, you're getting a little bit better because you're moving into free weights, but it's still dumb training. This is really highly advanced stuff, and this is more complex. And these ones here are really both at this end game where you're playing your sports. All right, so you really want to get away from this sort of stuff to learn how to move better. And yet, to be honest, you don't need to train as often either. This is where doing split programs and all that sort of stuff. You don't really need to do that. You just really need to train with better quality and do it all in one go, which is the way you're meant to move anyway, and you'll get more done, and you'll get better results from training less. We wouldn't want that. So example of sports, stronger chest and biceps just won't make you play better. You can be massive like that. It doesn't mean you're going to play like an incredible football player. Only sport-specific movements and sport-specific skills with the type of training is going to make them move better. If bigger was all you needed to be, then you would just see heaps of bodybuilders playing football, but you don't see any bodybuilders playing football because it's not relevant to their game. It doesn't make them move better, it makes them move worse. All right, so that's a classic example of like how this type of training will ruin sports. So I haven't really answered your question yet. So how many times per week is the perfect amount? Well, there's really no perfect amount, but if I was to sort of really give you very simple guidelines, I'd say 3 in a perfect world. 3 60-minute integrated strength training sessions would be ideal. That would give enough time between each one, maybe compromising one of those, but the 3 of those workouts would be pretty good. You'd be trying to fit in some interval training if you could, maybe 1 to 2 times, no more than 30 minutes. Flexibility and mobility work you'd be doing every day, especially if you needed to do it. And you'll be trying to fit in some stability and posture and movement skills for the rest of the time, 20-30 minutes. Now you probably could fit some of these in the same workout, or you could do them on the next day, or it could be mixed in with your flexibility drills and your stretching program or your mobility work. And even they can be integrated in your strength routine. So you can see it's not really that hard to fit it in, and it's not nowhere near as much as what people think they need to do. All right, but that's the perfect world we're talking about. So in the real world, there's many other factors that we have to consider, and goals and you need. So there could be injuries and health problems that are in the way, and there's time available. You have to factor that in as well. Everyone's got a job, they've got responsibilities, kids, sports, whatever it may be. Even for your sports, you've got game day, training days. All these things have to be factored in. All right. So any one of these can change how often you train. All right. So if we take a look at a few examples, let's look at sports quickly. So again, you have to factor in trainings and game days, and they're going to make up the most of the available time and your energy. You want to be the best for trainings and game days for the actual sport. All right. If you're turning up to either of these, compromise because of your gym program, well, your gym program's not helping your sport. It's preventing you from playing your sport. All right. So the gym has to complement, with the focus being on preventing injury first and then performance second. You have to also consider there's more things than just strength that are required. So things like speed, power, agility, mobility, balance, all those things, they're all other factors that need to be trained in the gym environment to complement your sport. And you'll often find strength is not the most important ability. For tennis, basketball here, strength is not the most important thing you need. In both of these cases, it'd probably be agility and stability and maybe power for tennis, but definitely agility for both of these games. If I was to break up a week, I might say if it is a football player, or let's say it's a football player, they've got trainings on Wednesdays and Fridays, or Mondays and Thursdays, let's say. We might have some agility work and speed work. We'd only have strength in there twice because we don't want to do strength on Sunday because we want to be pretty fresh for the game. So if I do stuff here, I should be pretty recovered by that stage. And I'm using drills that very much agility is heavily balanced into this because it's what they need the most. I probably could even throw in power, maybe on the strength as well if I wanted to, but that'll give you an idea of how I might break that up. For a tennis player, it could be completely different. All right, because they might be playing more often, but I need to factor in what abilities they need, when their available time is, all those things that we've spoken about. What about injury? Well, this is a big one I get asked all the time, and people say, "Oh, if I do the stretches, if I do the exercises 3 times, if I do the program twice in the day, will that get my pain, get rid of it quicker?" Well, it doesn't work like that. More doesn't mean that it's going to work faster. Another big thing is people rely too much on health therapists to just fix them, where the training is vital to them. If they don't do their stretches, they don't do their exercises, the therapy is going to take longer and it may not work at all. Because most of the injuries, if they're chronic conditions, are created from postural problems, movement problems. So things like posture correction, mobility, stability are critical for you getting rid of the problem. And they only work with perfect repetitions, and you've got to do lots of them. And when I mean lots of them, you need to do about 5,000 to change a faulty pattern. Which means that the posture is affected more by time, not by load. So if I'm just trying to apply huge strength things, I'm not really going to change too much of the problems because they're not really strength things yet. They're usually movement problems, stability problems, and mobility problems. And when we do start using strength, we need a long time to make sure the tissues have enough time to repair. So if I was to do something for an injury thing, it'd be very much stability and movement skills, mobility drills, and posture. See how we're heavily built into this program, all those things are, and strength are only used twice with really 4 days between them. That way I have enough time to always repair from the things that I want to do, and using the things to hold the things together or make them move better. That's the key, but I really need to train every day, but not with strength drills that are going to create fatigue. So we went back to that progressive load chart. There would be not much damage created from each session because we're not trying to create damage, we're trying to prevent things from happening. All right. What about if you're just general fitness? Well, the big mistake is people overdoing too much. If you don't overdo it or try to fit too much in, again, there's not enough recovery. So I'm really making life easier for you here by telling you don't have to do as much. So again, if we went 3 strength sessions in a week and in between it you work your interval training and some stretching or yoga class for stress reduction, and Sunday maybe try something different, maybe do some mountain bike riding, go sailing, go swimming, or I don't know, do something that's different, out of the norm. Anything that's out of the norm, that's unusual, is going to create a lot of change because you're not good at it. All right, and it's fun, makes exercise enjoyable, means you want to do more and you'll get more out of it. All right, so you don't have to become a gym junkie. You don't need to do split programs and train like a bodybuilder every day of the week. That's just not smart at all. You can spend more time with your friends and do stuff you want to do instead of becoming an exercise addict as such. All right, so key points is understand rest is training. If you enhance your rest, you find ways to speed it up, you'll improve faster. Always quality over quantity. Integration is the key. And work out a plan that's sustainable and relevant to what your body needs or what you want to do. Right, you can't follow a one size fits all. For heaps of ideas, I'd suggest getting our little black book of secrets, because it gives you heaps of stuff about all of the things I've spoken about. You got 100 programs to pick from there, from all types of things, to understand how to integrate and complex skills like I spoke about. You'll find it in our free report. Both of these you can get from our website, www.noregretspt. You get the little black book from our online shop. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed that video, and I'll see you on one of our next ones.